Welcome, everyone. Today we're discussing one of the most controversial unwritten parts of sports, officiating the makeup call.
A makeup call happens when an official misses a call, then later gives a favorable call to the harm side to even things out.
So I have a question for you. Is that fairness or manipulation trying to fair the game out?
I think fairness really should be judged by like each individual play. Every moment in the game is kind of followed by the same rules regardless of what happens. So I think it should just be judged by each play because if you start judging fairness by like outcomes, then the refs no longer are kind of like enforcing rules. They're just kind of influencing results.
Yeah, no doubt. So one other thing, another thing is, can one wrong call repair another call? But no matter the situation, no matter how big the game is.
Um, I mean, I don't really think so. Um, making like bad calls, I mean, they just kind of happen in the kind of the flow of the game. So I don't really necessarily feel that that one call can repair another one because it's different emotions in the game. Something can be at the end of the game, and it could be like a whole different type of intensity than it was at the start of the game. So like, and you miss a call at the start of the game, and then you try to repair it at the end of the game. It's kind of two different situations, so it's kind of hard to repair that, in my
Yeah,
opinion. You know.
yeah, no, I agree. I think, and as athletes too, do you think like it depending on the game, there's situations that are better than others to be doing a makeup call. Like, do you think that in the ACC championship, the ref should be making up a PI call that happened in the first half?
No, I do not think. I think it should happen in games where, I mean, maybe earlier in the game, but ACC championship's kind of hard. I wouldn't say that they should be doing it then. Maybe in games that maybe don't matter as much, but even in those games, kind of earlier in the games. But it's just hard because everything's under a microscope, especially in those big games in the ACC championship. So
Yeah, yeah, and then when I think of that, like, there's so many people, like, when we were growing up, like, it was, "Let the kids play," like, "Quit calling so many, like, touchy fouls," and then, like but you go into again, like, a big game, and you just let the kids play. You go out there, and all of a sudden, it might get a little too physical, but do you call that really bad PI? Do you not? And I think that, like, at some point, it just gets frustrating as a player.
yeah,
'Cause let the kids play might be fair in the audience's eyes, but in the player eyes, like,
it's not
sometimes
fair enough.
it restricts everything you're doing.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah. Um, Another couple of things, do you think that rules should apply equally in every single moment? We kinda touched on this a little bit, but I think this is a big one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because like even when you look at like the Final Four and just how that was kind of refed, um, it felt like some calls were just like didn't need to be called necessarily. I feel like in bigger games such as like a national championship, it shouldn't come down to like the ref's whistle to decide the game. So I just think that people need to like the refs need to establish what it is at the start of the game and then have the consistency towards the end, not trying to make up anything. And just if you miss something, you miss something. So I think I think in bigger games it should be more consistent, but that has to be figured out through the refs and I think that also should be communicated to teams as well.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the one thing for me that like, it's always been told, like, "Be nice to the ref," like, "Be good to the ref," like, "Make sure the ref's on your side." Like, I think that's absolutely crazy in these environments and even the professional environments.
Yeah.
Like, that's an actual thing that if, like, you irritate the ref, or if you argue with the ref, like, he's gonna be looking for you the next time. So,
Yeah.
like, that's one thing that comes in my mind all the time, like, the fact that, like, we have to actually be conscious and understanding of like, "Hey, we gotta be nice to this guy," and that will reflect on how the game ends is crazy.
And it's almost like what you're speaking of with the Yukon and the national champ. I mean, where whenever they hit the shot,
Yeah,
he headbutting the ref, but the ref's like his boy or his friend. So
exactly.
it's like you getting on the good side, and he's not going to call those type of things. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
yeah, and then, also, like, that's because 'cause they're you mentioned, like, that's their boy, like, I think in, like, this video, I saw it, like, literally 2 weeks ago, Michael Jordan, when he was on the Wizards, like, way post his glory days, and it was, like, just an Instagram reel short video, and he goes up for a layup, guy kinda gets a piece of him, he walks off, and Michael Jordan walks up to this ref that's been reffing for like 15 years right alongside of his like great career. And Michael Jordan's like, "Come on, you gotta call that." Like that like
Yeah.
you think you got some, Mike? You
Yeah,
got
I know what
some,
you're
Mike?
talking about.
Yeah, I do. He's like, "Alright, foul." Like, literally just calls it and walks away. Like, it's crazy, but, like, at the same time, like, as an athlete, like, you do have to earn your stripes. Like, you do have to like, and some people might think that's, like, wild that, like, people like that, like LeBron James and all these
Yeah,
guys, like, look at Doncic, like, they just, like, they have so much pull, not just in the NBA, but even the NFL, these, some of, like, the really good players like Tom Brady,
yeah, especially
you
him.
couldn't yeah, you couldn't touch him, like, you couldn't even poke him. So, like but those guys are also, like, the greatest players of all time, and they've earned that respect. So I think that's, like, a really big controversial topic too.
Yeah, it is, and it's kinda hard to it's interesting when you think about it, it really is, kinda it's kinda like a known thing, especially in these leagues, you kinda earn your whistle, just as you go on, like SGA, like, he's the most, I guess, foul baited, but, like, when he came in the league, like, no one really knew who he was, he just had to, kinda earn that stripe, so yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and then these are just kind of a list like that like could completely come to my mind. So NBA, like we already talked about, star players, they receive calls after visibly complaining all the time to referees, and that's crazy. NFL, makeup pass interference calls, holding flags after earlier missed penalties. That's a really big one as well.
Yeah,
MLB, umpires are often accused of
yeah,
expanding or shrinking a strike zone.
yeah.
And like and depending on the guy at the plate, you have Bryce Harper at the plate, like, it might like, that strike zone might get a little bit tighter, or if, like, a guy's pitching a perfect game and it's inning 8
Yeah,
and it's, like, 50-50, they're calling it a strike. So that's kinda
that's yeah,
go
but
ahead, no
there also been some cases where, like, maybe the refs, like, just take away that perfect game with just some I saw one video where it was I forgot what year or what game it was where it was like he just messed up the perfect game. So it's just interesting to see how much power and
yes.
rule they have over these types of games.
Yeah, literally, and I'm an Eagles fan, so, like, I know we beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl the last time around, but the time before that, the game was decided on a pass interference call on the DB, and as an Eagles fan, you're like, "That's terrible, why would you call that?" And everyone's saying it was a makeup call, and I'm like, "But you don't make a makeup call in the Super Bowl,
No,
like,
I
in
don't
that
know.
moment."
Yeah, that's kind of what we touched on earlier with like the ACC championship. Like, it's just not the time and the moment to to be using that
No,
in your judgment.
no, not at all, but, I swear some of these refs, like, they live for it. They're they
Yeah,
some refs are, like, have, like, a power trip problem. Like, I
yeah,
remember in 2023, we were playing, Texas State, at my prior school, and one of my buddies who was playing left guard, he was just jawing at the other team the whole time.
yeah.
It's just nonstop chirping, and this ref comes up, and he is furious, and he's like, "You better get your boy in check." And I'm like, "Alright, like, I will," and, like, thought everything was smooth. He comes up to me, behind me in the huddle. He's like, "If you don't get him in check, this game's not gonna end the way you want it to." And
That's crazy.
I'm like, "Did you guys hear that?" Like, that's
Yeah,
you
you
can't
just feel helpless too.
yeah. He just wanted me to feel like I had to listen to him. I'm like, "Dude, we're beating these guys by 30 right now, like, it doesn't matter." That was probably one of the craziest referee experiences I've ever had when he pulled that.
Yeah, it is weird that you do feel extremely helpless in those situations, and it becomes very frustrating where they almost like want you to lash out.
Yeah, 'cause, like, you work so hard for those moments, and you get some, like, this old dude who's trying to make a living, who's getting a power trip,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
ruining that. Alright, we can start the crossfire questions, now too, if you wanna start with me.
Gotcha. So my first question would be if refs can fix mistakes later, where does it stop?
Yeah, like, that's a really good question because we talk about, like, in game all the time, like, oh, if, like, he makes a call in the 1st quarter, can he make it in the 3rd quarter? But it goes even, like, bigger than that, like, some referees like, I've heard of, referees making makeup calls in following games. In,
Mm,
like, baseball, it's like a 3-game series,
Yeah,
and like the ump might miss something, and he'll might like for a player, and he'll remember that, and then the next day when they're in the next series. So like honestly, I think it's part of sports, in my opinion. Like fixing mistakes later to an extent. Like it's not it can't be a harmless like you can't throw someone like you can't like we said, ACC championship, final 3 minutes, like you can't just make a crazy call. But like if you miss one on this guy and he's a good player and you just kinda like and you
yeah, let it
like
go.
and you let it go, but then like the next time when he's up to bat, if there's one that's like right outside the strike zone, like maybe you're gonna give it to him. And like I know like in my old league in the Sun Belt, like I had personal relationships with the refs.
Me too.
So yeah, so like they'd come up before the game, like, "Hey, like, I'm like, you gotta be up on the line, like, at tackle, like, you can't be so far back, like, you'll be almost in the backfield." And, like, that was, like, early in my freshman year, and then all of a sudden, like, as I got older and older, and, like, I'm on my 35th career start, like, the ref will, like, literally come up to me, like, after every snap, not every snap, but like, whenever I get close, and he'll be like, "Hey, just scoot up just a little bit." Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's like, I feel like it doesn't stop. I think it always just keeps going, and I think, like, you earn that, in my opinion.
That's yeah, that is a good I remember in my old school in the Big Ten, we always had our refs come and, like I'm pretty sure every school may do this, like, where they come give you, like, the big presentation. And we had refs come to almost every practice, and every single practice, every, like, one-on-one, I would always, like, just go to the ref and just try to, like, give him, like, some just see where his head is almost and see what, like, the things that he's looking for, and I know he's gonna rep, like, all of our games in the season.
Yeah.
So it is very beneficial. So I'm gonna go to my next question. Is it intentionally balancing, worse than accidental mistakes?
I think that accidental mistakes are harmless, like, refs are human, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're just like everybody else, like, they're gonna make mistakes, and honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but they're gonna make a mistake sometimes and blow the whistle during a championship game with 2 minutes left, like, if it's an unexperienced referee, and,
Yeah.
like, we'll get upset by that, but, like, at the same time, like, when I was 18 years old, like, in my first college football practices and games, like, I was making mistakes left and right. So like that's one of the biggest things is it's it's intentional balancing is definitely the way to go because you can use your judgment, and I think that's huge. Some of those referees have really good judgment.
That's cool. Yeah. And I know in like these guys are human. And it is hard to see that sometimes. But I think for the most part, when you these leagues, when you get to these championship games, they have such strict ruling on like who refs. Um, but yeah, those are some interesting points. And then the last question I have, and should players expect these makeup calls when they're playing?
I don't think they should expect them. I
I agree.
think that you will once you get older and you start playing, and like I'm sure Tom Brady expected some of those like roughing the passer flags. And it's not just because like he thinks like it's because of precedent why he expects those. You know what I mean? Like because he's the dude and has always been like the best quarterback in the league. He expects to get those calls. I think it's less like so in the first quarter, he made this horrible holding call on me, which was like a pile of crap. So now I'm gonna hold this guy and I should be
Yeah.
able to get away with it. Like that's not realistic at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just like in my instance, if I'm like playing guarding receiver and like he gets away with one, so like the next drive I can do something like that's just not a way for an athlete to go about their business because I mean everyone's watching you. I mean that's just it's just not something to lean back on, especially in the heat of moment.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, no doubt, man. All right. Well, I appreciate you talking with me today about all this, and it's definitely a controversial topic. I hope that this was a good conversation. We got a lot out of it, and I think like my final takeaway here is sports just depend on trust, and makeup calls we can trust. But at the same time, they weaken trust because some of them are used in wrong situations. Some referees like abuse their power. So if referees and umps and aren't abusing their power and they're harmless makeup calls, and they're talking and makeup calls and and looking out for players that have earned that over the years. I think that can like that builds trust in my opinion.
Yeah, and sports also depends on the fairness, and sometimes those corrections matter, in the heat of battle, and with a lot going on the line, especially in this new day and age of a lot of money going through all these sports, you know, having the correct call really matters and based off fairness. So yeah,
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again.
for sure.
All right.
Appreciate you.